little Curt growing up with your Nonna and what you had to do on Saint Ubaldo Day in Jessup, Pennsylvania.
My brother and I had to sweep the street. If there was any kind of debris out there and one of the runners fell and the saint fell, it would be a disgrace.
And Nonna wasn't having that.
You didn't mess with Nonna.
Let's talk about the biggest unicorn, though. It's the TV show The Office.
We probably had 20% of people just cringe right now and go, man, I wanted to hear about Scranton one time and not hear about it.
All right. We're going to get to all of that in just a moment. But first, I want you to know how grateful I am for today's podcast sponsor, my friends at FitAF Nutrition. They are Eastern Pennsylvania's leading meal prep company. FitAF offers meals of multiple sizes for people with various health goals. And you know what I love about this company? They use high-quality ingredients like grass-fed meats, wild fish, and locally harvested produce. And all right, for you parents on the go, they even offer family meals. Go to fitafnutrition.com, place your order by Thursday at midnight, and get fresh, prepared meals delivered right to your door on Sunday. Use code Leckey at checkout to get 20% off your first order.
Here we go, buddy.
It's the Ryan Leckey Show.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Ryan Leckey Show. Super stoked for today's guest, somebody who definitely knows a thing or like a bazillion about northeastern Pennsylvania. He's the executive director of the Lackawanna County Visitors Bureau. Curt Camoni in the house. How's it going?
It's going awesome.
All right,
It's my pleasure to be here. I'm excited too.
I'm super stoked to chat with you. I mean, you and I go back, 16 years. You worked in different departments and roles. You worked with baseball teams, the Visitors Bureau. I mean, you name it. But why we have you here today, because I think what is so interesting as we get closer and closer to Memorial Weekend is this event that I think is so historic in northeastern Pennsylvania, but people don't know a lot of the backstory. They hear about it. They see the race of the Saints, the running of the Saints, right, on television if the news covers it. But we are talking about the significance of Saint Ubaldo Day, its role in Jessup, Pennsylvania, and the only other place in the world, Gubbio, Italy. We got a lot to unpack.
No question about it. It's one of those things that if it was a product you were trying to sell, you would need an infomercial because you have to explain it.
Yeah, there's so much to it. And people often think, you and I were talking about this before we were rolling, everyone just thinks, oh yeah, that's just the running of the Saints. Think again, right? And why Curt is here, not only because of your role with, the Visitors Bureau, but you literally, and I love this story, you grew up living this race, breathing it with your Nonna.
And that's not a unique story in Jessup. So I am one of many that has grown up with this as part of the fabric of their family. A lot of Jessup comes from the area of Gubbio, Italy, in the Perugia, Gubbio, and that is where Saint Ubaldo Day started, and still is an amazing event annually. But yeah, my Nonna came from Gubbio, Italy. When she was a little girl, she went back for a little while and came back again. And she taught me about her town and her city and all of the different historic events that have happened there, and especially Saint Ubaldo Day. And it meant so much to her.
How would you boil the day down, though, over there? Because it started in Gubbio, Italy, and then came here, right?
Yes. So a long time ago, the Bishop of Gubbio was Ubaldo Baldacini. And back then, the cities, picture a medieval-looking city, and they all had giant stone walls surrounding their city, and that was their security. Barbarossa was invading Italy, and when they were coming towards Gubbio, the town folk thought, that's it. We're going to be killed. It's the end. Ubaldo Baldacini, who was an older gentleman at the time, and again the Bishop of Gubbio, went outside the city walls to go meet Barbarossa by himself to try to handle the situation. The longer he was gone, the more and more scared the town folks were. They were hiding in their homes. And then Ubaldo came back. He had managed to talk to Barbarossa and get them to leave Gubbio alone. Well, an older gentleman, he was coming back in through the gates. Some of the town folks saw him. They put him up on a giant wooden H known as a stanga, and they ran him through the streets of the town to celebrate and show all the townsfolk that they were saved. And that was the beginning of it. And when people immigrated to the United States, Jessup is not quite as mountainous as Gubbio, but it resembled it. It felt like home, and there was jobs in coal mining, which is very difficult livelihood, very difficult way to provide for your family. But these folks had come to a new country and just wanted to provide the next generation with better opportunities than they had. And when they were homesick and struggling and wanted to continue their traditions and keep their heritage alive, Saint Ubaldo Day in Jessup was born. And a lot of us can trace our family history back to, my grandfather would come out of the coal mine and they would run Saint Ubaldo Day without all the pageantry and everything that we have now. They'd be in work boots, work pants, and they're under, tank top. But the day went on. And, for 100 years in Jessup, there were some years where it didn't happen or there was a gap. We had some insurance things because it is inherently dangerous. But COVID was the first time since it began in Italy that the race didn't happen either in Jessup or Gubbio ever. So it was, it's a great day.
And we're going to come to the running of the Saints or the race of the Saints, because that's like sort of the money shot, so to speak. That's why a lot of people come to it, and the cameras there and the glitz and glam. But I think I want to back into your story because, like you said, I think what's so amazing about northeastern Pennsylvania, there are so many events, and this being one of them, that are woven through the heritage of families that mean so much, that there's significance to it. But talk to me about little Curt growing up with your Nonna and what you had to do on Saint Ubaldo Day in Jessup, Pennsylvania.
I was attached to my Nonna. I couldn't get enough of spending time with her and listening to the stories of Gubbio and of Saint Ubaldo Day. And it meant so much to her that her property, which, by the way, she rented. It wasn't even her property, but it had to be immaculate. It had to be perfect for Saint Ubaldo Day. And so the grass had to be cut. All the helicopter things that fall out of the tree that was down in her front yard had to be raked up. But then on top of that, my brother and I had to sweep the street, because if there was any kind of debris out there and one of the runners fell and the Saint fell, it would be a disgrace and put shame on our family.
Yeah, and Nonna wasn't having that, not outside her house.
You didn't mess with Nonna. Nonna was a tough lady. She taught me a lot, but there was the carrot and then there was literally the stick. If you screwed around, the cane would come down. Mm-hmm. But we would have to have it immaculate. The street had to be clean in front of her house so nobody would fall. Because if the Saints fall, it is a very bad day. No matter which family you're with, if any of the Saints fall, you rush and try to help out because you never want to see that happen. And then the morning of Saint Ubaldo Day, we would have to set up her seat right at the edge of the road. So she would have a front row seat. We'd bring a chair down for her. She had the same old carpet runner that every old Italian lady in Jessup had. They all looked the same. We'd bring that down, put it on the grass, get her chair there. Nonna's spot was set. And it would just mean a lot to her. She cried every year. As the runners would come by and she would see the Saints, she would have tears come down her face every year.
And I want to talk about the significance of the Saints in the race, but I guess growing up in Jessup, right, the race was one component, and it still is, but there's all this stuff behind the scenes going on that a lot of people don't know, that starts early in the morning with families and grandparents and kids. So walk me through it. If it's Memorial Weekend,
listen,
it's Saturday
truthfully,
and Sunday.
And a lot of it happens in front of the scenes too. It is public and people can participate, but it literally starts the Sunday before we have the Jessup wine tasting, and that is the kickoff to Saint Ubaldo, and the dignitaries of the day are publicly announced. Each of the three families, so there are three saints represented. Saint Ubaldo, which you know why historically that saint is being honored, and the day is all about him. And then St. George and St. Anthony got put in. Historically, we don't really know exactly how that was chosen, but they are representative of the different classes. So you have the working people, the poor. St. Anthony is representative. You have the upper class, Saint Ubaldo, and then you have the merchants and soldiers with St. George, which is the family that I am involved in and a part of.
And with those three saints, right? I mean, the whole day, though, surrounds. I mean, because I want to say, to remind people, this always happens the Saturday and Sunday before Memorial Day.
Absolutely.
But walk me through the day and sort of what the special stuff that happens with families.
So first thing in the morning, the town is woken up by horns and drums. The Valley View Band participates with this, along with each family. Purchased drums a few years ago and has people that play them. And
are we talking 6 a.m., 7
Yes.
a.m.? Yeah, okay.
And so they are going through the streets, not only waking up, the town, but also picking up the dignitaries for the day. So each family has what's called the Capo Dieci, which is the captain of 10. To get under these statues that we run through the streets with, you have 4 people on each side with their shoulder underneath what we talked about already, a giant wooden H, picture it. It's called the stanga. Our saints total altogether weighs right around 500 pounds.
Jeez, yeah.
And then you have a steerer in the front and a person pushing in the back. That's the 10. The Capo Dieci is the captain of 10. They each pick what's called the capocetta, or here a lot of times they'll be called the hatchet man. Picture them as the general who executes the plans for the Capo Dieci. They go to their homes, or if they aren't from Jessup or currently live in Jessup, they pick a place. The horns blow, they come out. There's a crowd at every one of the houses. There's homemade wine, and it's just a huge honor. It's a once-in-a-lifetime honor. You only get to do it once, and then collectively, each year there's one Primo Capitano. Picture that as a Lifetime Achievement Award, and a Secundo Capitano, which is also honors just a lifetime of support and being a part of Saint Ubaldo Day.
And do you have to be a Jessup native to partake?
You don't. In fact, you don't even need to be Italian. We have a lot of people from all over and all different backgrounds that, while they might not have a family tradition, it is now their tradition and the tradition they've set for their families. So we welcome anyone.
But carrying the actual saints, you got to be kind of picked, right?
You do not need to be picked.
Okay.
Anyone can ask to participate. You just need to talk to the family that you want to be involved in. I highly recommend St. George. We're the most fun and clearly the best looking. And we wear blue, and who doesn't like blue? Yeah. Yellow attracts bees. It's difficult.
Okay.
So if you approach them, I know for the family of St. George, which is the only one I can speak to, as long as you are there for our pre-race practice, we will assess if we feel it's safe and you're ready to go, and most importantly, you feel comfortable, we will welcome you to participate fully.
And you do that the day of the pre-race practice?
We have a practice on the Wednesday for the family of
Okay.
St. George. It's primarily for the Capo Dieci, because one of those earlier times that you're talking about, and to me, one of my favorite parts of the day, and I always tell people you have to come, it's right around 12 noon. It's called the Alzata, and it is the raising of the saints. So everything dealing with Saint Ubaldo is very meaningful and representative. So at the Alzata, there's a full mass, and then basically the statues you see us running with during the race are assembled. So that wooden H we talked about, the stanga, is stood up vertically. The Capo Dieci is up on top of that, so you're elevated a very good height. Your head is above, picture a 10-foot rim on a basket. For basketball, you're up about that high. And then the chero, or the vertical piece that the actual statue sits on, is inserted and locked in with a pin, and then the statue itself is put on top of the chero. At that point, the 3 Capo Diecis are lined up across, standing way up in the air. Mm-hmm. Very colorful. There's a lot of music going on, a lot of yelling and chanting, and people are excited. And then they have what's called the broca, which is, picture a giant pitcher or vase. And that has, at an earlier part during the day, they went around to the different winemakers in town and put samples of wine in. Everything is blessed. The wine gets poured on the pin, which was much more meaningful when the pins were made out of wood and it would swell to tighten up and keep it all together.
Got it.
Now it's metal, but we still go through the motion for tradition's sake. The vases, the broca, are thrown. They break. People rush in and try to get a piece. It's supposed to be good luck. And then all of the Capodiaches who trust their families inherently throw themselves forward and ride that giant wooden H to where it's vertical and on their shoulders.
Oh my gosh.
So that practice on the Wednesday, the family of St. George, we didn't do it a lot, and then we had a Capodiache break his foot and ankle coming down off of it, and we said, you know what, maybe practicing is a good idea.
Maybe we should walk through this. Yeah.
Yeah, you always feel like you're closer to the ground. Like when you let go and decide to, you're close, the first time, you always misjudge it. So you're jumping from way too high. So it's better to do that in the grass.
And I guess the thing is too, like throughout the year, I mean, there's granted the big events like Memorial Weekend, but throughout the year, there's so much care given to the statues, and there's like a little museum almost, right? In Jessup?
Absolutely. So the chapel is in Jessup, and it has a lot of artifacts. We have pieces of Saint Ubaldo. We have a piece of his lung. He lies in state in Gubbio. The miracle, one of the miracles that caused him to eventually achieve sainthood, is the fact that he's lying in state, perfectly preserved, and no one can really explain why.
And speaking of Gubbio, I'm amazed how many people from our area who love taking part in St. Ubaldo Day in Jessup, Pennsylvania, who have traveled to Gubbio to experience it there.
I have been fortunate enough to do that more than once, and I got to tell you, it's some of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. To be over there, and I get overwhelmed with the thoughts of my Nonna walked on these streets, and how scared and just crazy it is to think about that she traveled from there to America so that I could have the opportunities that I have, and my brother and my cousins. So to get over there and have the stories she told me as a child come to life, and to go to the Museo of the 40 Martyrs, it's the Museum of the 40 Martyrs, which is another famous historical moment in Gubbio. During World War II, there were resistance people up. They took to the mountains. And it was basically guerrilla warfare where they were causing problems for the enemy, and they lined up 40 people from the town, women, children, family members, and the idea was to get these fighters out of hiding, and it was a massacre. They just absolutely wiped out those 40 folks. There's a museum and a beautiful statue in another part of town honoring them. And when you go there, a lot of the names you see for all of the people, you'll recognize a lot of those names from Jessup. And it hits. My nonnies tell me that I learned that story by 4 at the latest. So to hear about and see the things that she talked to me about and cared so much about, and really made a point of making sure myself and my brother were aware and learned these things, to see that in person is just unbelievable.
Now, when you were over in Gubbio, Italy, and other people have traveled, are you guys ever like, hey, we're from Jessup, Pennsylvania, and everyone like, oh, I get it?
You really don't have to. For every American that goes over there, there's large groups of Italians from Gubbio that come to our day as well. They have a big trip coming over this year.
That's awesome. So does it happen the same day, though, too?
No, theirs is every year on the 15th,
Got it.
No matter what day of the week. And they actually have 3 separate days. So they have La Festa dei Ceri, which is equivalent to our Saint Ubaldo Day. It is the adult race over there. I believe you have to be 20 before you can participate in that. Their statue is much larger. They don't have the wire across the road to worry about. So theirs is, man, I was very fortunate to get under in Italy, and the weight is crazy. And then the sheer height is amazing. You end up with bracers just to be able to handle how awkward the weight distribution is. It's crazy over there. But then they have what's called the Manzani race, which is like the teenager race. That size statue is what we use in America because of the telephone wires and cable wires and everything. And then they have the kids race, the Ceri Piccoli, it's called in Gubbio. we do that. On the day after Saint Ubaldo, on the Sunday, we have our kids race, and it is my favorite day of the year. It's so much fun. These kids get so excited, and it's how we carry on our tradition, which ultimately is our mission, is to preserve and continue the tradition of Saint Ubaldo Day in Jessup forever.
Now, obviously, all the time people are hearing like traditions are dying and, blah, 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 and people aren't carrying things on. Where does that stand with Saint Ubaldo Day in Jessup? Are people still thriving and jiving around it?
No question.
Yeah.
Our numbers, it fluctuates between families. So, the family of St. George, we have a lot of runners. We're very strong as far as our numbers go. And then for the kids race gets bigger and bigger every year. And part of that is what we've been talking about how do we preserve and promote that day. And, we do historic presentations to one of the things we do during the week is a presentation on the history of the day, why it happens. Just like we talked about with Barbarossa at the elementary center, the kids love it. We bring the statues, we make it fun for them, and then the dignitaries for the kids race. The children get a capo dieci, a capocetta, the primo capitano and secondo capitano. They get highlighted amongst their peers, and again, it makes it more reachable. It makes it real for the kids that don't grow up with it. So then they see it and their friends, and they bring them apart. We have a kids' day at the chapel where we talk about the meaning of the day and how historically it came about. It gets kids involved, and then we do coloring and pizza, and one of the parts of every family's uniform, I guess, is what's called a fazzoletto. It's like a kerchief that you tie around your neck. And so the kids get to decorate their own. Anything we can do to make sure the kids are having a blast and staying involved, but they're actually learning about the history of the day and why it's important at the same time, is a no-brainer for us. Because every one of those kids is going to hopefully continue that tradition in one way, shape, or form, whether it's full-blown participation or it's just making sure they're there and love the day and are watching it like my Nonna did. So our full-blown, our total mission with the Saint Ubaldo Society and each of the families is just to be able to hand our day off to the next generation in as good or better circumstances than it was given to us.
So for people watching this, and they're like, I know I've heard of Saint Ubaldo Day and stuff, and I know the kids race is Sunday, but Saturday, what time should people show up on that Saturday before Memorial Day to really just get immersed in this before the race happens?
Okay, so you can make your own itinerary, because happening at the exact same time as our day is the Jessup Host Company #2 Carnival. So in between, when there is dead time on our itinerary for the day, by all means, amazing food, rides for the kids, a beer tent if you're so inclined, just a great time over at the carnival. And I'm talking great homemade food, and trust me, Jessup is where you want to go for that. The tripe is one of the best you'll get. So early in the morning, as we discussed, once they collect all of the dignitaries, we then go to the cemetery. One of the big aspects of Saint Ubaldo Day is honoring the people that came before us. So there is a ceremony at the cemetery. A wreath is put out, very similar to what happens in Gubbio, Italy. One of the things that we've done to try to, I don't know if you could say improve the day, but evolve the day over the last decade especially, is trying to align ourselves more with trying to be exactly what it is they're doing in Gubbio. We do have our own tradition. We do have things that have evolved over the years, but just making sure that there is a one-to-one ratio. If they do this, there's some representation of it in our day. So after that ceremony, then you can go to the chapel in Jessup. It's open doors to anyone that wants. There's typically some food out for breakfast. People are having a good time, enjoying one another. And then it'll lead into The flowers, which is another important aspect, get tied into your fazzoletto. You pick up all of that there before anything really, really gets started after that ceremony at the cemetery. The different families have different traditions there. So for me, I have the entire family of St. George to my house for breakfast.
How many people are we talking?
It's been, look, there's no RSVPs, but it's been 30 if a lot of the guys had a rough night the night before and maybe didn't wake up, and it's been 75. I actually open it up to all three families.
That's Jessup,
but
though. Come on
my
in.
father started the tradition.
Wow.
It was his way of participating after the race came back in 2000.
Yeah.
He kind of adopted us and would have the whole family over for breakfast. So when he passed, my mother and I decided that we needed to continue that. So there's a lot that goes into that, as you might imagine. And then from there, all three families head to the chapel. There is a mass. Everyone gets their flowers, and then a procession takes place to get to where the Alzata is held. The Alzata, as we discussed, is amazing. The saints get risen, then they get run for the first time. They do 3 small circles in the parking lot. I will tell you this, insider tip number 1, if you're there, everyone will tell you about the broca, that large pitcher, and when it breaks, if you get a piece, it's good luck. That's all well and good. Just remember that in Italy or Jessup, ceramics, when broken, are extremely sharp.
Yes.
It is not good luck to have to go get stitches before the race.
Yeah.
So be extremely careful. The other thing is, these 3 saints, and we've been doing it a long time, and we try to be as safe as humanly possible. They do not have brakes, and they weigh a lot. So when the broca breaks and everyone goes in, you really have no time, because there's 3 500-pound statues and like 50 guys on their way right through there. So you need to get out because no one is stopping.
Yeah.
So, you know, there is an inherent risk. You need to pay attention. You just need to not be in the route. So if you find yourself walking in the street, bad idea.
Yeah,
Stay
I was
on
going
the
to say,
sidewalk.
speaking of the street, though, I mean, is it 3 saints together running, or they're behind each
No,
other? Set
Saint
the scene.
Ubaldo is always in front. It is Saint Ubaldo Day. And again, when we say race, there is no passing. That would be a disgrace to the day and
Right.
against everything it is about. It's a race in the sense that we are running hard.
What's the distance?
This is one of the major differences between Jessup and Italy. In Italy, each one of the families has, 1,000 runners. You only get under, unless you're the Capodieci, and who would be at the front leading, you might get under once and run a short distance, and you're basically done for the day. And you are handed down, like if there are certain sections where the runner, if you're on the left side in the 3 spot, your father ran that spot, your grandfather ran that spot, it's handed to you. The young kids can earn their stripes. They run the mountain, which is over 2 miles straight up. They get it done like you wouldn't believe. But there's very little stopping. It only stops 3 times, and that's for logistics. Sometimes you got to move it to get it underneath, a viaduct at the bridge. But for the most part, their day starts, and then it is constantly moving.
And this is Gubbio.
Until the end in Gubbio.
Yeah.
In Jessup, we don't have 1,000 people for each family. The family of St. George, I think last year we were somewhere around 60 runners. And typically, we are at the top end or the high end of what the 3 families will have. So we break into 4 or 5 different groups, and you'll run, we call it a leg. So picture anywhere from 50 to 80 yards each group will run. Where the inherent danger comes in is you then switch on at full speed. So if you are in the 3 spot on the right-hand side, that's where I run. My left shoulder is under the weight. You run in, and you just grab the other guy and get rid of him, and you got to get in and take the weight. So at those points is where you have a lot of people moving. You have 3 separate families running, and people can fall, people can trip. It gets
What was the craziest
insane.
story that came out of there?
St. George tells a story that I've been hearing for over 20 years. The family of St. George used to sponsor a paratrooping unit in the military. And one year they were able to come and make it to the race to support St. George and thank them. And at the end of it, the leaders of the family back then said, hey, would you guys like to try? And the gentleman that was the highest ranking member of this paratrooping team told them, I've jumped out of a plane more than 1,000 times. You people are crazy. So when you are watching it at full speed and you just have, it's like playing double dutch with a 500-pound statue. You just got to go for it. And there's a lot of people running on the street. It's hard to describe. I tell people all the time, if you ever do it, if you want to get involved, if you ever do it, you'll be hooked. There's nothing like it. And if you come and watch it, it will become a tradition for you as well, because it's the sights, it's the sounds, it's the food. There are house parties and family functions all over town that welcome, there's an atmosphere and a vibe in town that whole week, but really that Saturday, that is unmatched.
Yeah. You almost feel like you're from there when you're there. Everybody's so welcoming.
Listen, you can be any nationality, any background, from anywhere, and come have a great time and be welcomed as family. There's no doubt about it.
I love that.
Me too. Listen.
There's some other stuff, by the way, I got to pick your brain on before we bounce off of Saint Ubaldo Day. The easiest thing when people are hearing about this and they're like, okay, I've heard about it. I finally want to take my family there. What is the easiest way to keep track of all the activities in 2024 surrounding it?
The Saint Ubaldo Society puts out a detailed itinerary. I highly, highly recommend you check out their Facebook page, and you will get all of the information you need to enjoy the day in the whole day, or if you just want to a la carte take some pieces. Like I said, I highly recommend, if it's your first time, come 12 noon. You don't have to get up early. You don't have to worry about that. Check out the Alzata. It's unique. It's so much fun. Go over the carnival. Come back when the race is starting. You'll see they put out the entire, it's called the Corsa. It's the route that we go. It starts in uptown Jessup. It comes downtown, down Church Street, back up, and then it ends at Memorial Field. Pick 2 or 3 spots along that Corsa. After it runs by you, start working your way to the next one. Again, staying on the sidewalk so you make sure you're safe, and you will have an amazing time. And again, that first time, get your feet wet, and then after that, you'll be an expert and hooked and probably join us for the whole day. But it is a Herculean task. You talked about year-round there are events to support it. We have to fundraise. It is not an inexpensive event to host. Jessup Borough is amazingly cooperative and helpful and supportive and a great partner to continue this. Obviously, it's great for the businesses in town. The economic impact on that day is massive. But also, most importantly, the Jessup Police Department works with the society hand in hand. They keep everybody safe. That is not an easy task that day, and they do an amazing job of it. Jessup Ambulance and the EMTs, again, when needed, they're there for us, or if something happens with anyone, and they do an amazing job. Our mayor, Joe Buckshon, is an enormous fan of the day, has participated in the past. Again, it's just part of the fabric of Jessup and who we are, and we love to share that with people.
I love that. I think I want to come back to, you mentioned about the economic impact that this event has on Jessup, bringing people in, right, supporting the businesses. I want to go a little broader now to Lackawanna County. I mean,
Absolutely.
That's you live and breathe Lackawanna County. I mean, northeastern Pennsylvania every day, but Lackawanna County is the executive director of the Visitors Bureau.
My job,
Man, you've been shaking stuff up in a great way over the past few years.
My job is literally to sell and market Lackawanna County, along with an amazing team that consistently makes me look good, which is not easy. We market and sell Lackawanna County in an effort to help with economic impact and economic development.
And you market all over the nation.
Everywhere, all over the world, really. It's primarily focused with Lackawanna County to about a 4-hour drive market. So we will stretch beyond that to get to DC because data has shown us that it's effective. But all of New York, Philly, New Jersey, the population we can reach in just a 4-hour drive market is absolutely massive. So we have done, I think, a really good job of tapping into that and promoting a lot of what we have to offer. As far as Saint Ubaldo goes, it's multifold. So do we see an enormous uptick in hotel rooms because of Saint Ubaldo Day? No. We get some. There are people that travel for it. It is Memorial Day weekend, so there are a lot of people traveling to visit family and everything that weekend. So to try to measure, exactly what we can do, it's tough. But you have a population in Jessup about 4,500, and on Saint Ubaldo Day, typically the estimates are somewhere between 10 and 15,000 people in town to watch. It is crazy. When you are a part of it and you get to the top of Church Street and you look down, it's a sea of people. It's loud, it's colorful, it's music, it's, chanting and all these different Italian songs that are traditional and go along with it. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. That uniqueness has a larger impact than necessarily the hotel room tax when it comes to Saint Ubaldo. Because it only happens 2 places in the world, because it's so unique, it can garner a lot of attention. It can get national news coverage, or USA Today writes a story because it's unique. One of the other things we have in Lackawanna County that's super unique that does this or has that effect, it's like the Houdini Museum. You can't go everywhere and go to and see that. We're one of a kind. So when you have a unicorn, you use it to get people interested and then show them all of the other things.
Let's talk about the biggest unicorn, though, that has put Lackawanna County, specifically Scranton, in the global spotlight. Because I want to unpack that, because some people love it, and some people are like, I don't know if I'm a fan of it, but it's done a lot for Scranton, Pennsylvania. What is it?
It's The Office.
It's the TV show The Office.
And we probably had 20% of people just cringe right now and go, man, I wanted to hear about Scranton one time and not hear about it. But I got to tell you, I don't even care if you like the show. I understand there are people, it's not your cup of tea, cool. But the economic impact of that show on Lackawanna County, the business and money that it has generated for small businesses in Lackawanna County, specifically Scranton, is enormous. It is. I look at it as the Visitors Bureau guy. It's a tool. It is an invaluable tool that allows us to sell and market Lackawanna County more efficiently and effectively. So when we are selling, and when I say selling, we bring in sports tournaments right now is our fastest growing market. We do very, very well. We have amazing facilities in Lackawanna County, and we go all over the country to market to the biggest and best sports tournament companies in the country, and successfully. We bring in a lot of great stuff. One of the things that lets us immediately break the ice and get them excited is we are Scranton, home of The Office. We have the Office walking tour. There are things you can see, places that are immediately recognizable to fans of The Office, not from here. Cooper's Restaurant, they all know what it is. Alfredo's for the good pizza. You got to have it. So they understand that we are going to have a basketball tournament at the riverfront. But as tournament sports and travel sports become the family summer vacation for a lot of families in America, it's becoming more and more important that, A, your location be affordable, which Lackawanna County is. So you can draw from that huge population, Philadelphia, New York, all of this, but host your event or tournament at a far lower overhead in Lackawanna County than you can in those major cities. And you're not giving up quality of facility, and you're definitely not giving up quality of accommodations when you start looking at, what we have to offer with the Radisson, the Hilton, the Hampton on Montage, or the Marriott properties on Montage. We have beautiful hotels at an affordable price.
We also have the best food in the country.
You're not going to get an argument from me there. So when they start looking at what is there for these people to do, we can't just bring people in. You're playing basketball for a couple hours. Now it's over. What are we doing? Well, we have the office, which for a lot of people is something to do. We've brought in corporate events where the office walking tour became a team building exercise. We have a AAA baseball stadium, which you talked about. That's where you and I first started working together. We have a Live Nation concert venue. We have a water park, a ski mountain, Steamtown National Historic Site. I think sometimes we get a little jaded in Lackawanna County and we miss the forest for the trees. What we have in a market of our size is incredibly impressive. When we put all that together, it's a sales pitch like no other, and we get in the door and start that conversation. The office opens those doors.
And I have to say, look, we also have a lot of great history, as we said, the Trolley Museum, right? You have the coal mine tour in Lackawanna County. Those are great and still important, but I really feel as though The Office, the show, which is still, people are still streaming it, it's like put Lackawanna County into 2024.
Listen, it finally got unseated. They haven't filmed an episode in over a decade, and this past year, Suits barely topped The Office in streaming. The number is crazy, and it's something around like 50 billion streamable minutes or hours of The Office. Yeah. That is incredible. And again, I get it. I see the pushback a lot, and I like to address it by having, a conversation. And typically, once I have the conversation, people get it. But a lot of people feel like The Office was making fun of Scranton or the people here. I couldn't disagree more with that. I never got that impression. I don't think anyone is trying to say anything negative about Scranton. If you feel that way, you're welcome to. But at the same time, for me, again, it's more about the economic impact and what it's brought to small businesses in Lackawanna County. These people travel. And again, a lot of people don't believe me. People travel to Lackawanna County specifically because it is the home of The Office. They stay in our hotels. They eat at our restaurants. They visit our attractions. And then they go home. And that's really what tourism is, right? So we want people to visit, use very little of our amenities as far as what our taxpayers pay for. So we're hoping when they come visit that our police never have to interact with them, our ambulances never have to interact with them, any of those types of things. When they leave, the only way we know for sure they were there is the money they left behind. And a lot of people are leaving money behind in Scranton because of The Office. And again, I don't see it as a negative, but you don't have to like the show to like what it did for our area. Just in recognizability. Just in Scranton is now much more of a household name.
I was telling you, I was on a Zoom. We had a team training with a guy from the UK, and he's like, "Hey, where you from? Where are you guys from?" And we're like, 2 hours from New York City. Have you ever heard of like Scranton, Pennsylvania? And right away, he's like, "I was just watching The Office on my lunch break."
Look, it's an iconic show.
Yeah.
It's on a level with very few others. I mean, it is what Cheers was to Boston. Mm-hmm. If you visited Boston 20 years ago, going to Cheers was probably on the top 3 things for you to do. Right now, we are living that with The Office and what we can do in Scranton. And in my opinion, we're doing a really effective job of capitalizing on it as a community. The city embraces it and participates with it. The county embraces it and participates with it. All of these different organizations within our communities, it has been a driver to bring events, to bring people.
And Curt, I think for the locals though, what is the Office tour? Because there's a lot of local people that don't even know what it is.
Please, by all means, whether you are local or out of town, but if you are local, please go to visitnepa.org and take a look at what it is our area has to offer. A lot of times I feel like we almost self-segregate by school district. in Lackawanna County. So I'm a Valley View guy. So do I know necessarily what's happening next week in Carbondale? Well, I wouldn't have a job if I didn't, so I have to keep up with it. But do most of my neighbors? No. Do people in Carbondale necessarily know what Saint Ubaldo Day is about? No, not necessarily. And look, I'm just using them because they're, at two different ends. But Scranton, of course, is included in that. Oliphant, Mid-Valley, Dunmore, Old Forge, Riverside. We all have small communities. We all have community traditions that we embrace. Old Forge has the Felatese Festival. Scranton has La Festa Italiana. Carbondale has amazing events. Pioneer City Days and the different things they do. Queen City with Oliphant. There's a lot of things that if we could get more awareness within Lackawanna County and more support for these events with locals, we can grow them to the point where they become an attractive event for tourism and hospitality, and we can help with economic impact that way. The county fair is a perfect example. If we can keep growing
The Lackawanna County Heritage Fair, also in...
awesome event, right around the same time, just after Memorial Day weekend. And that as that event grows in popularity locally, we can start to grow it in popularity outside of our area. But even the office mural, which people need to check out.
That's just one stop, I should say. The office tour, right? We could unpack that. That would take time. But I would say visit NEPA.org is where you can find the lowdown.
We had college kids drive in from Tennessee just to be there at the unveiling and the christening, so to speak, of the mural. But yes, so it brings you to the pen paper building, the Dunder Mifflin,
yes,
of in real life, Cooper's, Alfredo's, anything that was mentioned on the show, and then within the walking tour brochure that we put out. This is a self-guided tour. You don't need anyone. You can get the map right off our website. You can come to the Visitors Bureau in person. We're on Jefferson Avenue, right across from the Radisson, and get the brochure. It will tell you not only the mentions of the real places in Scranton, but what episode they were mentioned in, what season, and give you the opportunity to just kind of enjoy your favorite show and where, it's fictionally set. Right. And look, again, just when the office closing, when their wrap party happened, it happened at the stadium when I happened to be working there, was there for all the setup and everything. But that was one of the largest crowds that has ever been in Lackawanna County Stadium, now PNC Field. Talking to, Jeremy Ruby was the general manager at the time. When Steve Carell made an appearance, he point blank told me that was the loudest it had ever been. And that includes when Derek Jeter was here. People were losing their minds. Tens of thousands of people came into Lackawanna County from outside the area. They did stay at our hotels. They did shop. Now it's not a singular event where they all come at once, but throughout the year, the Office 5K is wildly popular, gets national media attention. All of these different events that incorporate the office have just blown up. It's extremely popular, and it brings money to our businesses. So I will sing the praises, whether you like the show or not. From an economic standpoint, it has done a lot for us, and it has promoted each of these businesses. It has talked about the University of Scranton, talked about the Scranton Wilkes-Barre, Yankees and / Rail Riders as it evolved. A lot of these, Steamtown is mentioned, the trolley is mentioned, and it shines a light on all of these things.
And we don't have to get into it too much, but I would also say when you go to visit NEPA.org, and you can learn about the office walking tour and everything else, you have to check out the Lackawanna County Pizza Trail. If you look, this area, we always say, it has the best pizza, but there's a whole pizza trail that you can follow on a booklet and it'll check it off your list, right?
Stepping back to what you said about the best food, I would put us up against any area. If you're a foodie, we are a must visit, and you won't break the bank. And even better, you never have to go to a chain restaurant, and you can have an amazing, authentic meal every day in Lackawanna County, probably for over a month straight, and never eat the same place twice. And it's diverse. It's not just Italian food, although I can tell you from experience, we have the best of that as well, including our pizza. Different styles based on different communities. And we have over 60 represented in the pizza trail. You can go online. We have a passport you can pick up in person at the Visitors Bureau, at a lot of these participating pizzerias if they have them still available. Stamp your passport. When you get halfway, we have a prize for you. When you get all the way, we have a T-shirt that says you completed the pizza trail. But yeah, it's over 60 pizzerias.
I was like,
mom and
hashtag
pop
goals.
shops from all over the county, and we didn't pick them. We put it out to the communities on social media. These are the pizzerias that the people that live in Lackawanna County say you got to stop and try. So, of course, we have the world famous pizza capital of the world in Old Forge, but every community feels pretty strongly about their go-to place. Everybody loves their go-to pizza place, and who doesn't like trying new pizzas?
As the executive director of the Visitors Bureau in Lackawanna County, I know you work with a lot of people also across northeastern Pennsylvania, the country, though. Where do you want to take Lackawanna County in the next few years?
So,
any crazy projects you can say, stay tuned for this?
I have a lot of crazy projects or goals or down the line long-term vision. I think the next overwhelming wave in tourism is going to be centered around sustainability. I think the younger markets are already looking for that. They don't want to have a negative impact on the community they're visiting. They don't want it to be an environmental or a negative impact on services, on the people there. They want it to be something that helps. So sustainability is becoming all the rage. And with Lackawanna County, one thing I will say, because of our size of our market, if we are not ahead of the curve, we're behind. So large mega destinations, think Vegas, okay? They can miss the new trend and spend their way to catching up, right? What you're seeing now with sustainability is just canceling out the impacts of tourism to the community. So it's a lot of small things that I think locals could absolutely embrace. We're talking about, one of the first things that they talk about with it is you have a lot of dead, unused land at, say, airports. So what you're seeing all across the country and honestly globally and in some areas, there are countries that are ahead of us. With this move, you'll see pollinator gardens being put, large-scale pollinator gardens being put at airports to try to offset some of the impact of the planes. And but with the focus on that, you're seeing a lot of move to eliminate plastic. So from your hotel key, we're starting to see those out of wood and still be the digital keys. You're not seeing much of an uptick. The studies that I've read and places that I've talked to and visited that have moved fully into this already actually are seeing increases in profitability. People will pay a couple extra dollars to have that peace of mind, to know that they are not going to an area and actually hurting it or hurting the people, or that the people in the area can actually afford to participate in what's happening for tourism. It's aimed at outsiders, and the people that live there are actually being negatively impacted or looked down on tourism. A lot of things like that, but then on just a grand scale. But sustainability is coming in tourism. It's going to be, I think, a major decision-making factor, especially, like I said, for younger generations as they're looking to travel, and they are looking to travel. They value experiences above necessarily things. From what I can see, they also value things, at least my daughter does. But experiences are something they're looking for, and sustainability is going to be a major factor there. So as we can and as we're able, we will certainly look towards that. But I think that's a major one. We have some other exciting stuff. If they come to fruition, I'll be happy to come back and talk about them.
He'll drop those knowledge bombs. So the easiest way, all things Lackawanna County, visit NEPA.org. And for Saint Ubaldo Day, which we talked about, family-friendly, great event, 2 days before Memorial Day. That's Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday is the adult race.
Yep.
Sunday is the kids race. Go to the Saint Ubaldo Society on Facebook.
Right.
You can get all of the
Detailed
information.
schedule.
And with the Visitors Bureau, yes, visit NEPA.org, but definitely want to check out the fun our marketing department is having on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, you
They
guys kill it. I
absolutely
love your
kill
team.
it. They are creative, they're funny, and you get to see a lot of what's going on in the area. And again, we're highlighting small businesses. We're highlighting community events. We're highlighting attractions and accommodations and restaurants in Lackawanna County. Anyone in Lackawanna County with an event can get it on our website. We will put it on the calendar of events. We promote everything from host company chicken barbecues to the Steamtown Marathon to the Heritage Fair. It doesn't matter. If you're a part of our community, we have a place for you and your event and what it is that you're proud of and want to promote. And that is what we do. That's our mission.
And don't forget St. Ubaldo Day, that whole weekend. Check out Jessup Host Company, -- 2, right?
Absolutely.
Their
Host Company
carnival?
#2. They're on Hill Street in
The
Jessup.
food, the people, great vibes.
Cannot beat the food.
Yeah.
Great music. The beer tent is a must visit with the bands they have at night. And again, you go there, you participate in the day, whether as a bystander watching for the first time or just love doing it. You move throughout the town. It's colorful. It's great music. It's traditional. It's just a beautiful, beautiful tradition. And again, you'll be welcomed like family. And that goes for across the board. I've never gone to a Lackawanna County event. Nobody knows why I'm outside of Jessup. I can go. I've gone and participated just to see them for myself because we're promoting them, so I want to feel connected to it. You show up, people are happy to showcase what it is they're doing. And again, every community has them. Clark Summit, Festival of Ice, an unbelievably well-executed event. They are executing at a high level. It's a community-based and run event. Montage Mountain Resorts. Again, we expect them. They are, a company. They have been doing this a long time. They execute events at a very, very high level. Mountain Fest has fast become one of my favorite events of the year. That cardboard box derby is one of the most entertaining and fun events of the year. But again, they are increasing their output of events on an annual basis. They are executing at a high level. The Circle Drive-In is killing it. Event after event, bringing people in from the outside, concerts. Yeah.
But I think you hit the nail on that. It's the people, right? Woven through the fabric that has made this area, Lackawanna County, and I have to say too, and beyond, northeastern and central Pennsylvania, that I've got to experience. It's the people.
No doubt. Everything is based on the people. And again, we take a lot of pride in our area. We may not always express it as I take a lot of pride in Lackawanna County. Again, we get kind of broken down even smaller into our little community groups. But there is an enormous amount of civic pride in our areas and in what we do, and we like to showcase our history, our heritage, our cultures, and people enjoy it. And I'm so proud to be from here and to see the work that people put in to sharing their events and what it is they have a passion for. It's beyond rewarding when you see it with these events. And then the folks in the arts, they put their passion, their blood, their sweat, and their tears into what it is they're creating. And whether it's performance art, it's amazing here. Whether it's actual, painting, art, sculpture, the murals, we have a ton to offer. We do have culture here in Lackawanna County. Scranton has a lot to offer. And as Jessup's saying goes, it's a great place to visit and a better place to live.
And with that, the one and only Curt Camoni from the Lackawanna County Visitors Bureau, the executive director. I mean, you rock. It's great knowing you all these years. And I learned a lot about, I mean, gosh, you heard about Saint Ubaldo. Now I even have a better grasp. And I've been in this market working, gosh, 17, almost 20 years. So thank you.
Listen, next thing we got to do, and I think everybody that watches this should help me make this happen. We need to get you a blue shirt and get you to participate.
I'd be the guy turning an ankle being like, hey, to the EMTs, can you help?
We could just work it out slowly, but Ryan Leckey,
running down the streets.
Cerioli di San Giorgio. I think that's the next crown or the next.
But I will show up at your house at 6 a.m. when you all are awake.
I'll make you breakfast. That's cool.
All right, I'm down. Thanks so much, Curt. Appreciate it. And thank you for being a part of another episode of The Ryan Leckey Show. See you next time.
Here we go, buddy. It's The Ryan Leckey Show.